numerous awards for Best Employment Law, a fierce advocate fighting for your legal needs.
Welcome to Legal Views with your host, Attorney Sheila R. Stuart.
Well, welcome to Legal Views with Attorney Sheila R. Stuart. We are so excited to be with you on this evening, and we have some wonderful guests with us, Dr. Kimberly Clinton and Pastor and CEO Clinton. They are going to give you some wonderful information on this evening that relates to many big issues that are taking place today. And before we get started, I just want to tell you where we are. We are located here in Clayton, Missouri, the law office of Sheila R. Stuart. We are a boutique law firm here to meet your legal needs. We are located at 231 South Beamiston Avenue, Clayton, Missouri. The phone number here is 314-854-1339. And welcome to Legal Views. You can subscribe to our YouTube page under Legal Views with Attorney Sheila R. Stuart, or you can follow us on Facebook at the Law Office of Sheila R. Stuart. Welcome, Pastor Clinton and Lady Clinton. How are you today?
We're doing well. Thank you for having us.
Well, it is a pleasure because you are like Ask the Pastor. So when we have you on, we love for individuals to ask the pastor these different questions, how they feel about things, how they're seeing things. And you've been with us probably, I think this is your third or fourth visit, and you always do an outstanding job in handling the material. So we are so happy to have you with us. And then today we have your lovely wife, Dr. Clinton. How are you today?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and what you do and the type of work, how you have impacted educational systems, how you do homeschooling and work with curriculums, and just give our audience a little overview on your background?
Sure. My background is in social work and education, working for the special school district and here in Missouri. I completed a bachelor's in social work, master's in educational psychology, and I'm currently enrolled in a PhD program at the University of Missouri in educational psychology, soon to be completed in winter of 2023. Within the homeschool arena, we've homeschooled our 5 children, all from K through, well, our oldest son, 6 through 12, but the remaining children were K through high school. We've had 4 children to get full ride scholarships. You know, we just know that education is diverse for, you know, individuals, and there's no one method that fits all. And we had the opportunity to learn and grow in the educational dynamics of our children, and to help them to see how they best learn, and, you know, to pursue those learning outcomes with them and let them become successful as individuals.
Excellent, excellent. And, you know, we have many kids today that are dropping out of school. They're not finishing high school, that is, and they're definitely not going to college. So I want to get some information from you as we go through the show on what systems can we put in place to impact our young people and to make them, or to assist them in becoming more effective so that they can graduate and become attached to society and do well in life and not end up in prison, not end up on drugs and so forth. And so I want to get some information from you, as well as ask the pastor, Pastor Clinton. Now, as you all know, recently we had a terrible shooting of a 26-year-old African-American male, unarmed. His name was Patrick Lyoya. I think I'm saying his name right. If not, it's Lyoya. and he was shot in the back of the head by a police officer. The police officer has been placed on administrative leave. The family recently had the funeral for this young man. And there's outcry and there's protests in Michigan regarding this incident. How do we continue to end up here over and over and over again when individuals are stopped, minor traffic stops, end up with an individual being dead? Small traffic infractions is a death sentence for many of our young men and women, but primarily men of color. A minor traffic stop results in the death of this individual. What are your thoughts, Dr. Clinton, as it relates to individuals being stopped for minor traffic infractions and ending up dead or seriously injured?
My thoughts regarding it, because I have young adults myself, and looking at the historical context of this is frightening. We're looking at individuals who are governed by a system, and this system is allowing these infractions to continue to happen, mainly upon Black and brown people. And our recourse is to get within this system of justice and make it equitable for us, more equitable than what it is. There seems to be areas that that are not conducive to what we need as far as helping us to survive and thrive within this society. The laws need to be changed. There needs to be ramifications for the actions of these officers. As a mother, if this happened to my child and it was unintentional by you, I would expect some remorse, not for you to be hidden behind a system, to be exempt from any action that you did. So, I would expect some type of remorse for human decency,
What are your thoughts, Pastor Clinton?
Well, I mean, we spoke on this issue a number of times, and we talk about it quite a bit. The law has to continue to improve, and also there has to be accountability to the officers who continue to commit these horrific acts.
Yes.
Now, I want to say as a disclaimer that we know all police officers are not bad. I had a police chief on the show a few months back, Dr. Agatha Gilmore. She's an outstanding individual, and she's a leader among leaders in law enforcement. So we know that this problem is not does not correlate to all men and women in blue, and many of them put their lives on the line every day to keep us safe. However, this issue continues to come up, and it continues to come up at a time when there has been the loss of life, and there's some mother crying, some father crying. What do you think the church and the community can do or should start implementing to make changes with this ongoing problem?
Well, I personally, I think it's a very complex situation, and I don't think the church alone can handle this because there's a lot of legal issues involved. Mm-hmm. But I think the church should come alongside different social organizations to assist them in teaching and training of our police officers, as well as our young men, in how to properly deal with situations when they do encounter the police. We had a situation about a month ago where our own son was pulled over, and we talk with him on a regular basis, right, how to handle himself and the do's and don'ts. So, we have to stay prayerful, but at the same time, we have to collaborate as the church with some of these social organizations to hold the bad police officer accountable, and to come alongside when it comes to teaching and training of our officers as well as our young people.
Absolutely.
Dr. Clinton, what are your thoughts? Do you think do you think the church and the community is too silent on this issue?
I don't think that they're too silent. I agree with Pastor Clinton that that they need to work alongside with one another, because I believe that when these issues are happening, those organizations and other ministries are reaching out to the families and to those within the system to say, how can we improve this? How can we make it better? And how can we prevent this from happening?
Right.
And so this advocacy needs to, be increased, is what I'll say.
Well, my thoughts are that every state needs to implement a law that makes it illegal to pull individuals over for minor traffic infractions, resulting in any type of violent type of situation, maybe that these individuals cannot even get pulled over. I know Philadelphia has implemented a law like this, that where if your tags are expired and maybe you don't have 2 license plates on the car,
right,
or if you do get pulled over, you don't have any insurance. Right. These minor issues should not result in being tased or being shot. I drive behind people all the time, and they have registration tags on their car. Some of them are 3 years old, and they're driving, with paper tags or whatever you call them from 2020, and no one's pulling them over. No one's stopping them and pulling a gun out. I see this, and I think about so many individuals that have lost their life because of this minor issue. And I do agree with you, Pastor Clinton, when you say that the church alone can't do this. I'm not stating that, but they have to get more involved. Absolutely. They have to have a higher, louder voice than what they do. Okay, we hear about all the other programs they're having. We hear about all the other come to this, I'm having this, and send me $100, send me $50. We hear about all of this, and it's not changing lives, and when it's not impacting lives. All of the marketing material we get from public relations to participate. We need to have something in place to have a voice regarding this issue. Dr. Clinton, what are your thoughts, since I put it in that format?
I agree with you, Attorney Stuart. I really agree with you. Also, another issue is the identification of police officers when such heinous crimes are committed. So I would say that blue code of blue law or rule that identifies them, that that says they're exempt from being held accountable, that needs to be revoked, or it needs to be adapted and changed, because with that law in place, there is no accountability, and this will continue to happen, when you have those bad apples that are seeking to destroy Black and brown people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I said when it comes to the issue of the church, when I look at the church, I'm looking at individuals who are in key positions in our society. That's the church. So, you as an attorney dealing with the legal issues, you're part of the church. When we have police officers who are part of the church. So I think collectively, when we collaborate and do what we need to do to, like you said, to make a louder noise, I think people are already in place, and I think people are making noise as individuals, but it's when we collectively come together. And we talk about partnerships, like we have people in political offices, in government. So I think collectively, when these voices are come together, then we can make a greater impact.
Okay, very good, very good. Absolutely. We definitely need to come together. Dr. Clinton, how can we create some type of curriculum or insert a particular course to educate young people on how to react to law enforcement? Because I believe this gentleman, Patrick in Michigan, I believe he was afraid. He's from Africa. He's from a war-torn country in Africa, and his family had come to the United States seeking safety and a better life. And I believe that when he was pulled over, that he was fearful of the police. You know, this is just my speculation based upon what I've seen, that he may have been fearful and did not follow the commands. How can we get our young people to a place not to panic and to follow the commands so they do not end up in a body bag? Because if you're a young person and you're constantly seeing all of this on TV, the shootings, you know, shot in the back of the head, you're pulled over, I mean, it's easy to have a panic attack and to run and to say, I'm going to take my chances of running, because if I just, you know, he may kill me anyway, so I may need to try to get away. But not many people can outrun a bullet. What are your thoughts on maybe a course or implementing something in the schools to help our young people to react more appropriately with law enforcement?
I think the idea of that is excellent. But I wouldn't just leave it with the young people to find out how to deal with it. I think that needs to be a collaborative issue, or addressing both police officers and, you know, the young people, and not necessarily young people, all of society, you know, Black and brown people who have to deal with encounters with police officers. You know, there's a fear, there's a systemic fear, you know, after years and years of witnessing and hearing and seeing this, you know, with the death of George Floyd, you know, that put a fear in not only those that were there, but, you know, when we see this worldwide and this is happening, you know, to people, and really nobody's there, or people are afraid to intervene because these are public servants that are there to protect us. And you threaten me and tell me that you will kill me if I try to do what you should be doing. So a curriculum would be advisable to help not only the students to understand protocol, but also officers to see the humanity and understand that these young people are fearful because of what they witnessed.
And also we do have programs in certain school districts. I know we have it in Jennings, where we have resource officers. They're actually St. Louis County police officers who work within the school. And but I think it needs to be on a national level and mandatory, actually, in a lot of school districts, and we've seen some improvements because the officers have an opportunity to know our students, and they walk around the community. They're in the community on a regular basis. So I think we've seen some effort and some improvement in the relationships between the police officers and our communities.
Okay, excellent. And I think having these types of dialogues, bringing the law enforcement officers along with community leaders and faith-based churches, creating a hub, bringing younger people into these meetings and creating relationships and forging the right dialogue to eliminate and to strip this fear down. Because fear is real. When you see this and you hear this, and then you hear about individuals that were stopped and pulled over and beat up. And, you know, I know a guy was saying that he was pulled over, beat up. They took his drug money and different things. And people hear these stories. And so what needs to happen is the development of these relationships and to create the dialogue that would help the police officers, because I want to emphasize that we need our officers. I am not one to believe in defunding the police. I don't believe in that, because if you got rid of the police, it would be chaos.
That's right. Right.
And it wouldn't take 24 hours. It would take 5 minutes or less.
Right.
It would be absolute, utter chaos. And I don't think people think it through. I think maybe some people are maybe thinking in terms of maybe redirecting some of the money more efficiently for training, sensitivity training. Absolutely, we need to do that. Absolutely. And we may need to look at getting rid of some of these immunities that they have. I don't believe in the immunities. If you break the law, then you're going to be held accountable.
Right.
But we want to keep them in place and to develop a better system. Right? I want to acknowledge Pastor Daniels. Thank you for tuning in. I want to acknowledge Ms. Adams. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your comments. Pastor Clinton, I would like for you to have the last word on this.
Well, again, I think it's going to take a collaborative effort. And again, I would like to see maybe we can all collaborate and start a national curriculum.
So why are you all looking at each other laughing? I want to get in on
because we talk about these things all the time, and that might be an indication that we probably need to step forward and initiate
instructional design
curriculum.
Okay. Well,
see,
that's awesome. That's a confirmation. It's a confirmation that we need this type of assistance, that we need this type of insight, distinctive insight in how to make things better. And also, I'm interested in participating in a program or in a dialogue to try to bring safety to our young people and keep talking about it. And Dr. Clinton, you have the skill set to put together some type of curriculum and roll it out to help our schools and to help our communities. And then I want to mention someone else, Dr. Marty Casey. She works with Ungun, and she talks about disarming the trauma. These are all of these different providers can come together to assist with this problem that's taking place. Now, let's shift here for a moment and go to the Oscargate issue. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I do want your opinions on the Oscargate. Oscargate referring to Will Smith striking Chris Rock and using profanity or explicitives when he went up on the stage during the Oscars because Chris Rock made a inappropriate joke about his wife. I thought about running the clip and showing, but I said, no, it promotes a lot of negativity. So I said, we could just talk about it. Okay. I would like to know, starting with you, Pastor Clinton, let me give my opinion first on it. I believe that Chris Rock was totally inappropriate for making the comment about Jada's hair. Whether he knew that it was alopecia or not, it was just inappropriate. Now, I know comedians, they say things to get laughs, but I just felt like, out of all of the women in the room, why pick her out to make a joke of because she has short hair? I didn't particularly care for his behavior towards Jada Pinkett. However, the conduct and behavior of Will Smith was totally inappropriate, and it broke the law. It was criminal activity. So you cannot justify what Will Smith did based upon what Chris Rock said. And so the entire incident was inappropriate and just went way too far. What are your thoughts, Pastor Clinton?
Well, I can speak from two different perspectives because I'm reflecting on, my wife and I, we talked about this. I'm reflecting on the days of when I did stand-up comedy professionally. And although the joke from Chris Rock was a little edgy, there was no justification for Will Smith did. And I believe his actions is really a reflection of what's going on across the country, nationwide, in our society. People are on edge. There's challenge emotionally, And I think his action is really a reflection on what's going on in the lives of people every day. So I don't want to be judgmental on either side, but I could understand uh, how something like that can take place, especially when you, and regardless, listen, I know comedians, we you know, they make jokes. We call it joning back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And although it's a joke, it can also be hurtful and harmful. And I think a lot of times people just kind of overlook it and not really look at the pain that sometimes comedian cause at the you know, a joke at the expense of other people. And again, there's no justification for what took place, but I think that's a reflection on what's happening every day in the lives of people every day. And he's not the only I know other situations where comedians were attacked and assaulted because of a joke that they told. And I think they need to share that. You know, this is not the first time, but in front of millions of people, and from on the Oscars, I think it was a tragedy for us all.
So, have you ever been attacked when you back in the day when you were a comedian? Were you ever attacked or for telling a joke?
No, but I was convicted, and I felt bad for telling a joke. And I to this day, I remember what the joke was, and I asked the couple that was sitting in front. I asked, why wasn't the husband laughing? I said, are you deaf or something? And the crowd just, I mean, they went wild, they laughed, but actually his wife was telling me, yes, he's actually deaf. And I felt so bad. So I sort of stay away from personal attacks. You know, when it came to stand-up comedy, you know, I didn't really, you know, address people one-on-one and personally after that incident.
So when you were saying that everyone is edgy and it's a symptom of our society, who are you referring to as being edgy? Chris Rock or Will Smith?
Well, I'm just saying. Well, the joke itself was on the edge. Okay. It's questionable, but I don't think it warranted the act. What Will Smith did, I don't think that was a cause for that at all. Because one of the reasons, I talked to my wife about it, there was some other situation that was going on in his life that I would expect for him to act out like that, and he didn't. And that's all I'm gonna say about that one.
Okay. Are you referring to August?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, I would expect for him to act out in that situation, but he didn't. So now I have to question what is his motives and his state of mind.
Okay. Dr. Clinton, you're on.
So when I heard of the incident the following morning, because I didn't watch the Oscars, my first reaction was they have identified and collaborated with the stereotypical narrative that most of society sees about Black men. They're aggressive, they're dangerous, and they're violent, regardless of what epitome of life, what they have managed to attain in life. This is how they're going to behave, and this is how they're going to act, you know, and it was embarrassing.
Well, can I add at first, your first comments, it was based on that the narrative of him defending his wife. Ooh, Will Smith, he's a hero. You know, he defended his wife. I think we had that conversation. And I said, I don't know if that was in order for him to be defending his wife, right? Well, okay, yeah. You know,
we debated it. We discussed it, and I didn't like the reaction, because as you discussed, you know, when we were talking about it, he had an opportunity to go up to the stage after the comment, and he could have addressed it then, you know, in a more logical manner rather than using violence. Violence will never answer anything. It only reaps more violence. And, you know, to say that he was defending his wife or her reputation or anything like that, it was out of order. Totally.
Hey, do you think when we speak in terms of when individuals saying he was defending his wife and he went up there to defend his wife, and people were saying that it set women back because women were made to look or sound weak, and that we did not have the ability to speak or to take care of ourselves, and that what Will Smith did minimize women and put us in a more precarious viewpoint. And I did not associate his actions as being like a hero or a savior. He was just upset. And he, bless you, he was upset and he lost his temper. So that's kind of how I saw Will Smith. I never even correlated his conduct with, you know, saving the day. I never did. And then when he gave his Oscar speech, which was even worse than the act, almost, you know, that he saw himself as a protector. I was thinking to myself, a protector, you know, I don't see how he believed that he was acting in that moment as a protector, but I don't want to judge the guy because he's been very successful, more than most he's been successful. So I don't want to say that he's not those things, but it just didn't make sense to me. What are your thoughts on that, Pastor Clinton?
Well, again, we can't be judgmental, and I can see it from both perspectives. And I hope that they both, as successful entertainers and individuals, that they could find a way to move past this. And I think they will. For some reason, I think they're going to move past this as individuals. And I think as a church, we have to learn to address these issues, but also come to a point of forgiveness.
And then Pastor Daniels, she's saying that Chris Rock, he's known for those kind of jokes, and they were sitting up front, and so, you know, they were kind of like in the heckler seat where people are targeted when they sit up close with the comedian. And so I had gone on a cruise once, and this guy was up and he was making some horrible jokes against the people on the ship. I left. I mean, I left the event because I thought it was he was going too far. And I think that's the issue. I don't think you should go that far. And what your profession is, all professions have limitations. You know, whatever your profession is, you can't go to the point that you're going to end up in trouble or take a risk that's going to cause more problems and so forth. And I just think he went too far. But now everyone is saying, oh, they're going to get a divorce. Do you think all of the problems that they've had, this rises to the level of them now separated from each other? Or do you think that's just more media for them? Publicity, rather. Excuse me, publicity.
I think more publicity for them. They had more issues prior to the slap or the incident at the Oscars. And when you spoke about setting women back, I don't agree with that either. The fact that you know, he laughed at the joke when it was made, so you know, that was precarious to me. You laugh and then you go on the stage and you slap the man. I didn't understand that, but so no, if they're getting a divorce, I think the issues stem long before the Oscars.
Right. And I think you made a key point too. I think Chris Rock is known for those types of jokes. So I think personally, I think certain entertainers or comedians get a pass. They know his type of comedy. And again, they sitting right up front. And I don't think that particular joke warrant that type of action at all, you know. And I think I saw a video of Bernie Mac years ago when he did a movie with Chris Rock, and Oprah Winfrey asked them about the fight scene. And then Bernie Mac respond was, you know, who would want to hurt Chris? Come on, Chris Rock, who would want to hurt Chris? So I think that reflects on the nature of his comedy. People know Chris Rock. I don't think he meant to really hurt her personally or Will Smith. So I think in this situation, I think I would give Chris Rock a pass. Come on, you know, it's Chris Rock.
Okay. Well, do you think that the punishment for Will Smith is too extreme? A 10-year ban from the Oscars. Do you think that his punishment is just over the top?
If I was Chris Rock, I think 10 years would be too much if it affects the lawsuit that I would bring. I'm just saying, you know. So no, not at all.
So you don't think 10 years is too much?
No.
Okay.
Only if it affects the lawsuit now, because I would be suing him for a lot of money for what he did, because this video is going to live on forever. And matter of fact, the effects that it had on even our young people. Now everybody's going around in the school smacking people, saying, "Oh, you Will Smith this person." So now that's caused a problem among young people.
True.
It's causing a lot of fights and arguments now.
Yeah, I saw a video clip where there was a big fight at a comedy club recently, where the comedian said some things, and the person in the audience, they start fighting. They had to break it up. So I think it emboldened people to act the way they wanted to act anyway in certain circumstances. And now that it took place on such a large stage like the Oscars, you know, I can do it too, and I will do it. Right. I think it did open the door for a lot of behavior that we normally would not see. It opened the door for it. You know, those are my thoughts.
I agree.
So, Dr. Kim, do you think 10 years is too long?
No, I don't think it's too long. When they were publicly, when they were debating whether or not they were going to assess any punishment, I didn't think he was going to get anything. You know, it doesn't impact his ability to make money or anything like that. So, you know, no.
And the word is that he's gotten more, his business opportunities have just been flooded because of this incident. People are reaching out to him for more movie and film opportunities. So that's good. And, you know, they're both very successful men. Will Smith, Chris Rock, they're very successful. This incident has drawn so much attention, so much publicity, and I think it's just going to benefit both of them in the long run in terms of their opportunities. I know Chris Rock's tour have picked up sellout crowds and so forth. So for me, I wish them both well, and I hope they make up at some point and get it together. Do you think the divorce part is real? I know we said
it's possible.
Maybe
it's possible.
It's possible.
Okay. I think it's real. I personally think it's real, but we'll see as time goes on how it plays out and so forth. Pastor Daniel said a will slap. Wow. So now we have these little fancy names. We have now these little fancy names for that type of behavior. And we're getting ready to wrap the show up in a few moments. I want to get your assessment on what's taking place now in Ukraine. As you know, the war in Ukraine started approximately 2.5 months ago. Russia invaded Ukraine, and Russia wanted to annex Ukraine to them, saying that they were really one unified people, and that Russia would have this right to annex it back like they did Crimea. Furthermore, Putin is stating that he felt that there was a threat from the West. There was a threat, and that he had to take action to protect the Russian people from this alleged threat from the West and so forth. And now, as we can see that the war in Ukraine has gotten much worse, they're digging mass graves that's filled with women and children. Many of these people are trapped in various cities. They're lacking food, they're lacking water, they're lacking the necessities in life. And they are being accused of horrendous war crimes against humanity, against children. I believe that due to the nature of this war that is escalating, similar to what people saw in World War II with the Nazi occupation under Hitler. And I think if the countries do not come together to stop what is taking place, I think that we can be looking at a World War III easily. What are your thoughts, Pastor Clinton? Ask the pastor. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've been trying to follow the war in Ukraine. However, I have a different take on it.
Okay, I'd like to hear it.
I don't follow it as close as most people, because I know that there's issues and stories that really have not been really talked about. Why have our attention been directed towards Ukraine and Russia? Because there's similar situation personally that's happening, that I understand happening in Ethiopia, and we don't talk much about. Very similar situation on the continent of Africa, in the country of Ethiopia. Why aren't we talking about that as Black people more than we are Ukraine? So I try to follow what's going on and how it's affecting the global economy. And is a tragedy. We have to continue to pray for the Ukrainians and even the people of Russia. And we have to separate the people from the government on both sides. And I think it's important for us as a society is to really, if we want to follow this and really delve into it, have a better understanding of all of the factors that caused this to happen. Let's find out who the Ukrainians are as a people. Let's delve into the history. But at the same time, I'm not as focused on the Ukraine as I am and what's happening in Ethiopia. And that's a very similar situation. People are dying by mass graves. Mass graves. A lot of war crimes are happening in Ethiopia. So I mean, just a lot of horrific stuff that's very similar to what's happening in Ukraine. But again, we all have to focus on how does it affect us in the Western world?
Okay, I think the analogy that you have drawn between Ethiopia and Ukraine is significant. I think it's very significant, and I think that media has played a serious role in looking at. Media has played a serious role in looking at the actions in Ukraine, okay, and aligning the United States security and focus on the war in Ukraine versus wars that are taking place over in the continent of Africa. Now, I think that's the key for me, is that I can be focused on Ethiopia, and I can think Ethiopia is very important, and it is very important. However, if billions and billions of dollars are being funneled somewhere else, then I need to become alert and aware of the potential impact on how that's going to have over here. What makes this war so significant is that the United States is focused on it, and that the United States is placing billions and billions of dollars in the game, whereas not as much money and focus is being placed in the game on the continent of Ethiopia. So, on the continent of Africa, in the country of Ethiopia. So a person can say, a Black person can say, well, I think we need to show more interest in what's going on in African sub-Saharan places and places like that. However, if the government is doing something different, I think we need to follow and be alert to that potential impact and how it's going to potentially draw us in and hurt us at a later date. What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Kim?
You said a lot there.
I did.
Yes. So, excuse me. You know, although the U.S. is heavily invested in the Ukrainian-Russian war, you know, we can't keep our focus solely on, as Pastor Clinton said, what's going on there. There are wars being fought worldwide, you know, even over in Israel and in Jerusalem. There are battles going on there right now. So, you know, we have to make sure that we keep our eyes and ears open to what's happening all around the world. What's happening over in Russia and the Ukraine, I don't want to say, does it really impact us as far as a people? But, you know, when we're talking about like the flow of currency and dollars, as you said, when we're looking at it, it's really about the investments worldwide and how it affects not only the United States, but the world economy. And so, you know, to say, if we want to look at why this war is happening, we need to know understand the undergirdings of it. And so we're just getting snippets of what media wants us to know, but we don't know the detail, the intricate details as to why this war suddenly broke out, and you know it escalated as it has. So that's why, you know, my personal opinion is I have an issue with trying to take a side, because I really don't understand the intricate details as to why this war broke out when you were living in such a harmonious peace all this time. What happened and who made it happen?
I don't think Russia was ever living in harmonious peace with anybody. Pastor Daniel said darker race continents have historically been ignored and neglected. Okay, that's what she said. Darker race people. Well, we're almost out of time. My spin is a World War III. So whatever the cause is, the underlying concern is, are we headed to a World War III? And I believe we are, if we do not turn the course on this. We're not going to head into a World War III over Ethiopia. But if we're headed towards a potential World War III because of Ukraine, that's a problem. And many young men and women will lose their lives because of this. And I think we have to be alert because of that. Bigger than it's bigger to me is bigger than whether a dark country or a dark nation is getting the same support. But will the overall impact on you and I here in the States being pulled into a potential war, the long-term impact and the problem that will cause? That's a concern that I have. Pastor Clinton, you want to wrap this up?
Yeah. I just wanted to say this. Now we have to take a more detailed look into that, because let's look at the countries that are invested in African nations, and that could also spawn into World War III as well. So, like I said, who's behind spinning this narrative that we have to? Hey, we need to, you know, pour all of our money and resources in resolving these issues. Who's behind that, making us believe that? But there's a lot of hot spots around the world, in Israel and nations in Africa. And listen, just because we don't put the attention on it, because the Western world or America don't put the attention on it, don't mean that we're less valuable. All right. So there's a lot of things that's going on the face of and the continent of Africa that could possibly spur because the investment worldwide that's pouring into those places.
Okay, that's excellent, and I agree with that. There are a lot of rich resources and minerals in the continent of Africa.
And look at Putin's relationship with some of those African nations.
Mm-hmm.
He's very involved and invested economically in a lot of nations in Africa.
And they're not saying
it all works. It's all what intertwined and related.
Yep. And many of those African leaders from those different countries, they're not criticizing Putin either. They're not saying a lot about his behavior and his invasion into Ukraine. Well, you have to tune in with us again. We're going to wrap up this hour. We want to thank you for taking the time to spend this beautiful Saturday afternoon with the Clintons and Attorney Sheila Stewart. We will be back with you with a new show the first Saturday in May. Thank you for tuning in to Legal Views with Attorney Sheila R. Stewart. If you would like to contact us, you can contact us at 314-854-1339. And we ask that you subscribe to our YouTube page under Legal Views with Attorney Sheila R. Stewart. Thank you so kindly for taking this time to be with us on today. Don't leave the Clintons. I have a few things I want to ask you. Thank you so much and have a wonderful Saturday afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.